So this video is in continuation of the previous video where we had looked at sources. Now we will look at authors and the analysis of authors within the area of your study. So this first graph gives the top authors in the field and how many papers they have published. Like our Abramo has published over 20 articles or 14 articles. So you get to see which are the top authors which have published in this field. The second is which are the most cited authors, especially local citations, where local citations means how these authors' papers have been cited most in the art 303 articles. So there have been 203 citations for these authors within the database of which you had uploaded. Once again, this gives the top authors within the fields because obviously their studies are being cited most frequently. This is the author's production over time. It's a graph where it says that when was the first paper produced by the author, followed by when was the last paper. Like Abramo, which was the most cited author, published his first paper in 2011, and the last paper was published in 2019. The size of the circle is the number of uh, articles, and then the density of the circle is the number of citations. So that gives you a very clear visual idea as to which, once again, when to edit these top popular authors are at what stages have they been popular. As you can see, most of the popular authors have been in the stage in the years of 2011 to 2019 with different time periods, but generally in this period, except for one which has been most active, known as Porter. So as it just gives a very good analysis. There is something known as Lotka's law, which I am now pulling up out here. While this gets pulled up, I have saved the information about what Lotka's law is. So let me go down into the file. So the Lotka's law is named after Alfred J. Lotka, one of the variety of special applications of Zipf's law. It describes the frequency of publications by authors in any given field. It states that the number of authors making contributions in a given period is a fraction of the number making a single contribution. So if one document was written by X number of authors, the number of authors who have actually written two documents will be a certain fraction of the number of authors which have written one document. Once again, the number of authors which have written three documents will be a fraction of the number of authors which have written two documents. And there is generally a trend where the fraction is in the ratio of 1 divided by x to the power a. Now, while this will not be as important for us to look at, but however, we get to see that this fraction kind of applies, that obviously the most number of authors that just write one document on the subject will be the highest number, and it will be a steep decrease with authors writing and 2, 3, and as you go along, and a higher number of documents. And finally, the author's impact in a particular field. Once again, using H index, you get to see which are the authors that have the most impact in your field. Out here, these are the top few authors. I have tried to choose the top 8 to 10 authors which have had the highest impact in the field while doing the next level of analysis of studies. These are affiliations. Affiliations are which universities or colleges these authors are affiliated to. It gives you some information, not necessarily it is useful, but these are all things for you to save in a file, and at different points of time you might find different uh, data which is useful. This is the corresponding authors countries. These are countries, these are the top countries which these authors belong to. Once again, USA is right at the top out here with the number of documents which are now. There is also a thing out here which says MCP and SCP. This is regarding collaborations. I have explained it in my document out here with regard to the countries. So MCP is multiple country publications and SCP is single country publications. So we go back, uh, there are 5 documents which are MCP, which is multiple country publications, and 32 documents or 32 articles from the US, which are where all the authors belong to the US. So this also shows if there what is the degree of collaborations across countries. Italy has the next highest number with 10 documents with multiple countries, where one of the authors is from Italy, and 21 documents where all authors are from Italy. And that's the same way to read this graph. The next thing which where it splits is by country. And finally is the most cited countries. I would not say that the most cited countries would be a useful thing, but country will give you a good idea as to which countries as research in that particular field is the most popular. Please also remember that while this is coming up, and some of these things at times take time because the engine is working, and it also depends on the speed of your computer, because it is your computer which it is using for running the analysis. I think since this is taking time, I will just show you uh, here. It is a table in my analysis, US had 90 publications, followed by Italy and followed by UK. This was something very similar to the previous graph which we had shown out here. So let's move forward. So here it is in a form of a graph, which is not useful. It is also important for you to note that at times there are these tabs. So there is a table tab out here which will give you information in an Excel spreadsheet, and you can export it into an Excel or copy and then save it into a Word document. So moving ahead from authors, we will look at documents. Now for documents, there is the uh, these are specific articles, and which are the articles which have created the highest level of citation and impact. So here one can clearly see that this was the article which has had the highest level of citations, and followed by these articles. So obviously the top articles are articles that you would like to go through for further analysis. Next is the most local cited documents. So these are the first one was global citations. So citations not just within the database of 303, but there could be possibility that these articles have also been cited by studies which are been in other fields, or sometimes by studies that did not get pulled up by with your database. So that's global citation. Local citations is citations within the database. In this case, our database was of 303, within that 303 data. Now, most local cited references, these are references which were there in your studies, and what is their levels of citations. And there is something known as reference spectroscopy. And I once again, reference publication year spectroscopy is something which I will like to show it in my document where I have saved this data. I personally did not find reference spectroscopy very useful, so I have skipped this thing. There are other things which I have not found very useful, but at times it is good to know and what are the most frequent words that are being used. It also allows you to understand, have you chosen the right kind of studies when you are filtering the data in Web of Science, when you were searching for or providing the query in Web of Science. Now out here, the most relevant words are research, higher education, research productivity, impact, performance, university, faculty. So gender. So I can see that essentially these are the kind of words which are most popular and which is not surprising. Mm. Now, this is another word graph, not very useful for analysis, but good to have. Uh, there is another tree map which shows the based on some sort of a factor analysis as to which are the uh, uh, top terms followed by the next set and the third set. It also gives you an idea of how this field is being talked about and what are the kind of things people are talking about in various fields. So this is the table out here and this is the plot. There is word dynamics, which is how these words have grown. Higher education, research productivity, as you can see, are trending in the last few years. Some of the other words which have been trending and growing are performance, impact, and some of the ones which have now gone down, they were trending before, was gender studies in higher education. And so now these gender studies, especially in the 2013 to 15 time frame. So this gives you an idea as to where the field is headed. And finally, these are the trending topics. You could look at which are the topics. You can change on your left hand side the label sizes and things of that nature. I'll be not doing it out here. You can experiment it, but you can see the trending topics which are around depending on the year. Around this period now, the trending topics that you can see are management, scientific production, research, job satisfaction, public management. So these are the trending topics. Around 2017, the trending topics were on rankings, on institutions, on collaborations. Prior to that, in 2016, there were trending topics on science, faculty, impact, and performance. And around 2015, the trending topics were around gender and women in 14 and 15. So one gets a clear idea of how within the field different topics have been trending. I will stop my video out here and continue in the next video, where I'm going to cover conceptual structure, intellectual structure, and social structure uh, uh, and the kind of analysis which bibliometrics gives regarding this.